Welcome to After the Buzzer Sports Podcast, the show that's all about real sports and real issues. We've got a great show in store for you tonight, so we want to hear from you. So we want you to light up the comments section on both YouTube and on Facebook. And also tell a friend, share these broadcasts. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday evening. After the Buzzer Sports Podcast, as always, your man Marvin Orange, joined by Lee Jones, and of course Raquel M.R. Thomas. What's up, guys? How we doing?
What's going on?
What's going on? We good? We had a lot of stuff happening in the world of sports this weekend. Of course, we had the NFL. We had NBA kicking off for some of the conference finals. And I'll be remiss if I didn't mention Mr. LP in the background. Appreciate it, brother. So let's get into some of the topics we're going to cover tonight, okay? Let's recap the conference finals, of course. We have the Celtics and the Heat. The Celtics made a little bit of a comeback, showed some life in Game 3. So let's see what you guys think about that series, and also the Lakers and the Nuggets. The Lakers on cruise control, or do we see some bumpy waters here coming up in the next few games? Is it time for LeBron James to officially pass the torch to Anthony Davis, hitting the game-winning shot, calling Kobe on the shot? Is it time for LeBron to relinquish the throne and give it to AD and let him run with it? Let's review week 2 in the NFL. We had a lot of good games on the slate. We had some pretty impressive comebacks.
Very nice comeback.
One team that we're not going to mention because I'm sure somebody going to talk about it ad nauseum as we go through this. But we want to talk about some of the games that we saw. See what you guys think about that, and what some of the upcoming matchups that we see. Who's been the most impressive player through the first 2 weeks of the NFL? We've had some guys who've kind of shown out over the first 2 weeks. Who do you guys think has been the most impressive thus far? Also, there's been a lot of injuries in the NFL after week 2. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think it's because of a lack of preseason? But we saw a high number of injuries go down on week 2, so let's weigh in and get your thoughts on how you feel about that. College basketball, specifically University of Louisville, is among several college programs who have discussed a non-conference bubble from November 26th through mid-December. Do you think that's a way forward for college basketball to have some of these non-conference slates? Do you think it's a good idea? So let's weigh in on that as well. And finally, of course, Deion Sanders prime time. Got announced as the head football coach at Jackson State University. What do you guys feel about this? Is it a good move for prime time? What does he bring to the table? Does this make a shift in terms of HBCU college football? Let's get your thoughts on that. So let's jump into it. We had the conference finals that kicked off, the Lakers and the Heat. Guys, I want to kind of get your thoughts on what you saw, what you think about moving forward, and what can we expect in the next and upcoming games. Raquel, kick us off.
Well, Miami looks really good. I'll say that. They nearly came back and won. They almost are 3-0. Those boys got a lot of fight. It's a lot of dog in Miami. I can't imagine the Celtics beating them. In all honesty, I think Miami. Maybe the Celtics will win one more game, but it took everything they had, I think, to pull out the win last night. And I think that's all they had. And I think that's as good as they can play as well. And Miami didn't particularly play well. Miami had a very difficult time getting the ball to go in the hoop in the third quarter. Lakers, not surprised that they're 2-0. I like the Nuggets, especially after, that last series that they came out of. I don't like them enough to beat the Lakers, but I do like the Nuggets. I think they are playing good ball. I just think AD is a little too much late. They're tired. It's very difficult to defend that guy, but that's for any team in the NBA. It's difficult to defend AD, so it's no pun upon them. I just think he's too much late. The Lakers are spreading the floor well, I think, for most of the game. They have the pick and roll going. It's nice to see Rondo back on the court. I think he makes all the difference in the world. He takes Bron off the ball, which I like to see. So I think the Nuggets may get one in. I think the Nuggets may win one game, and you'll see the Lakers go on to the finals.
It's interesting, and I'm going to, kind of put this out there a little bit. Now, Boston has had big leads in both games,
Absolutely.
right? And they haven't been able to finish the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw something last night that Brad Stevens made an adjustment. All right, he made a small adjustment by putting Marcus Smart on Dragic, because if you ever know, Dragic is the initiator of that offense.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in the secondary offense. Dragic is the guy who kind of makes it go. They put Smart on Dragic. They kind of hid Kimba like the Golden State does with Stephen. They hide him on defense. They put him over in the corner on Jay Crowder because Jay isn't really, he's a spot up 3-point shooter at this point. He doesn't post very well. But Marcus Smart completely took Dragic out of the game. He went 2 for 10. I think he had 5 turnovers, and he really dictated and messed up Miami's flow.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big adjustment that Boston made. And I was always kind of on Brad Stevens, but I thought it was a really good move. And you saw it really kind of messed up Miami's flow also. And I'm not a fan of Hayward. Never been a fan of Gordon Hayward, but he effectively came in and he was kind of a zone buster for the Celtics because Miami plays that zone against Boston, and Boston doesn't really respond to that zone very well, but they put Gordon kind of at that high post, mid-elbow area, and he became, not only is he an effective jump shooter there, but he also became a facilitator. And Boston spread that floor. They put all those shooters on the wings, and if you saw Jaylen Brown and Tatum have more opportunities in terms of driving to the basket,
get to the ball, get to the basket.
So
they had more points in the paint.
They did. So Boston made some adjustments that might make this series interesting because Boston has been up in most of this series. Miami hits those runs on you, and then Boston doesn't really, they kind of hit them in the mouth and they kind of fade back. But they hit some things last night that I think they might want to look at moving forward, and it's going to be interesting to see how Miami adjusts to that. Lee, what you think?
I think Miami is also more physical than Boston. I think Boston has become more physical with Miami. I think that'll help them a lot if they touch bodies a little more. I feel like Miami, when they do get to the basket, they are untouched, most possessions. Whereas when Boston goes to the basket, there's a body touching them every single time. And I think over time that wears anybody down.
Yeah, it does.
Boston is a finesse team. They shoot threes, but Marv, you hit it a great point about Hayward. I'm not a big Hayward guy either, but Hayward will put the ball on the floor. Mm-hmm. And you know how you break a zone is you attack it, you come from the wings, you attack it, and you dish. What they have is they have 3-point shooting around him. So, I mean, Hayward does what he's put in there to do. I still think it's a 7-game series, really. I still think it's a 7-game series because at this point, Jimmy Butler is still suspect. And if he keeps being suspect as far as not showing up in the series the way he's known to, they're going to struggle. As the series goes on, and Marv, you hit it, you make subtle changes, and then, can you counter those changes? Right. Well, countering those changes means we're going to have to get something on the Miami side from Jimmy Butler more than he's been putting out right now. And so,
Jimmy Butler played well in the first game. Everybody's going to have a bad game in the series. There's nobody that's going to go through the series and not have a game like Jimmy Butler had last night. He didn't necessarily play horrible, but
he only had like 14 points in the first game. I mean, he's not look.
But he was everywhere.
If you're claiming to be the superstar, now he did hit a big shot towards the end. But I'm saying if you're claiming to be the superstar, and that's what we're claiming Jimmy Butler to be, is a superstar for Miami, he's going to have to do more because, to your point, Marv, it's about holding a lead for Boston. It's not about clawing back. It's about holding a lead. And if they figure out what to do defensively against Miami, because I'm here to say, Dragic, if you crowd him, Marv, turn his butt right, turn him right, and you get somebody like Marcus Smart that can get up in him and make him go right, he's a different ball player then.
Different player.
He's a totally different ball player then. So that's what the switch did. Smart's a dog whoever he guards, right?
Yeah.
And so taking him out of the game, right, is going to say, now who's going to pick up the scoring, right? Hero, but it's going to have to be Jimmy Butler. And I haven't seen Jimmy Butler be the consistent superstar. He's going to play defense, Mark.
Let me ask you this, Lee. Did Jimmy Butler announce himself as a superstar, or did everybody else say he was a superstar?
Well, he's being paid like a superstar.
Well, yeah, he's being paid like one.
Paid like a star, like a superstar, then you get to have that S put on your chest. And that's what they did. He's a superstar. He's not a role player. When you think Miami, you think Jimmy Butler. That's who you think about first. So he's the superstar for the team. And what I'm saying is, if he don't start to play better, and I mean in a dominant fashion, you're going to see this series go 7 games, and you might see Boston steal this series.
And he picks and chooses too much to me. Like, a superstar puts his imprint on the game from the start to the finish. Butler likes to choose his spots on when he wants to really try to score, when he wants to be aggressive. And in a playoff series, you just don't have – you got a limited number of opportunities to do that. But, Lee, I think that Brad Stevens must have heard what you said, because I remember last time we talked on the show when you were saying Kemba just don't seem right? And Kemba, he got to be the Kemba of old. Did you notice Marcus Smart now? He was facilitating the offense also. Yeah. He put Marcus Smart in the, on defense and offensively. He's become the focal point of making that team run. And they're putting Kemba on the wing. Kemba gets to, catch and shoot, maybe take 1 or 2 dribbles in his step back. Now you're taking the pressure off of Kemba. You put it on Marcus, and they responded to that. And the game really wasn't close, to be quite honest. I mean, Boston was aggressive. They got to the paint when they wanted to. So Spoelstra's a great coach. He's going to have an answer to it. I suspect that they won't play as much zone with Hayward in the game. But it's going to be interesting to see how this chess match works, because Brad Stevens got the best of Spoelstra in game 3.
Let Kemba be, like you said, let Kemba be your spot-up shooter, because in college, Marcus Smart was a point guard. He played point in college. He facilitated the offense. He can do it. Let Kemba do one thing that we know he can do, is sit out there and shoot threes. And that's what you're getting, because I don't know what's wrong with him as far as going to the basket. He can't finish around the basket now.
I think he's still a little bit injured. I think
that a little bit. I think he's hurting, in all honesty. I think he's hurting.
Yeah, I don't think he's 100% healthy, but nobody is in the playoffs, so we can't make that excuse, right? Everybody injured in the playoffs. You get paid millions to make shots.
They ain't been playing a lot of basketball now.
Hey, playing enough. Kemba got to come with it, and so. But I think it's a 7-game series, Mark. Really, I do. I think it's still gonna go 7.
What you think about the Lakers and the Nuggets?
For me, Marv, I personally think that the Lakers going to win the next 2 and sweep them, to be honest with you. It was Denver's chance to win a game.
Yeah.
They came back. They fought hard. That took a lot out of them, that shot by Anthony Davis. It took a lot out of them. And to be honest, Marv, the Lakers were up 12, and the Lakers tend to get lackadaisical at points in the game. They should have finished them off earlier anyway. And they allowed them to hang around. But I don't see. I really, it might go 5. I'm thinking it's going to be a sweep. I really do. And it doesn't mean the games are not going to be entertaining. And be good. But that was the best. They get Joker played well down the stretch. But you know what, Mar? They keep crowding Joker. They're going to make Joker earn everything that he get. And I just say play Dwight Howard more and rough him up, because Dwight Howard frazzles him. He has him. He takes him completely out of the game. He can do something against McGee. And then, you don't want to waste Anthony Davis on guarding him too much. I play Howard much, much more. But I think the Lakers are going to sweep.
Quiet as kept, Dwight Howard might be the MVP of this series in terms of what he's done on the defensive end with Jokic. I mean, he's still going to get hit because he's a great center, but he's disrupted it. He hasn't allowed him to get the rhythm like he likes to. So Dwight Howard has played well, but I do got to give a shout out to one of the Denver players, Perry Dozier, South Carolina boy, USC, came in, gave some big minutes last night. Big kid, 6'5", 6'6" guard, Spring Valley alum, USC Gamecock Final Four team. So I do got to give him some props. He came in, got a big and one on Anthony Davis, flexed on him, was like, I'm here. So hopefully this springboards him maybe into next year and getting some more minutes in the league, because he's paid his dues over the last 3 years. His dad and family, they were USC alum. think they're from the Baltimore Dunbar area. They played at Dunbar. So he got a basketball family. So I was glad to see him kind of come out. But with that being said, this series over. I mean, it was their best shot last night. That 3 by Davis and him yelling Kobe. That deflates you beyond deflation. I mean, Denver played probably as well as they could play. You were getting contribution from guys you just don't normally get them from, like Dozier, playing some big minutes. So I just can't foresee Denver, playing that well with all those pieces playing well together to make this a series, man. LA, I was never a big LA fan, but let me tell you something. When they decide to defend, they can lock people up.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That length.
Marv, Lee and I have been telling you all along that the Lakers was going to the championship. We told you that from the beginning.
No, but nobody on this panel predicted the Clippers losing to Denver either, though.
I said very early that Kawhi is just not the guy.
Man, y'all can't say that. Kawhi got 2 championships.
You gotta talk to be a leader. You gotta actually be vocal to be a leader. You have to.
Okay, well that's good. I'm glad you said that because that's gonna segue us into our next topic. Is it time for LeBron to pass the torch to AD? So
now I'm gonna let you boys ramble about this because I know you're going to. If you take LeBron off this team, they don't win. That simple.
When you
LeBron
take
has
off the team, they don't win either. They're not in the playoffs, and they're
year after year.
Thing. So we're not talking about
Anthony Davis. I think it's a jewel for sure, no doubt about it. He's a jewel. I think he's the second best player in the league. I don't think he's better than LeBron, but I think he's the second best player in the league. They certainly need each other to win, but you talk about pass the torch. I think it's a little bit too early. We don't know if Anthony Davis is going to be hurt. Any game, Anthony Davis can go down. I think we've said this quite a bit as well, but you guys may have some amnesia with this. Oftentimes, when Anthony Davis falls down, we don't know if the guy's going to get up. I think that's still very true. When he falls now, I'm nervous as hell. So I think that's a tall order to say, hey, pass the torch. Maybe that time is coming, but it's not this season.
Raquel, you're the same person. Now let me do this, Mark. You're the same person that after game 1 with Portland, you were saying LeBron need to retire.
LeBron need to retire.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. Let's be a big boy. Be a big boy and say everything. Be a big boy and say everything. Be a big boy and say everything. Don't pick and choose what you want to say like you pick and choose with your Cowboys when you feel good about them. No, say everything. If you're gonna say that, say everything.
What else do I need to add, Raquel? You said
add it all. Don't pick and choose the bits and pieces you want to say.
Let me say this, Marv. You know me. I've been saying it all along since the playoffs started that the Lakers win if Anthony Davis play well. There have been times when LeBron has played well and the game is tight, or they're trailing. As soon as Anthony Davis exerts himself, that leads to, because once he's rebounding, he's active rebounding. And the beautiful thing about him, Marv, is he can defend guards. The guy is long, he can defend guards, he can move his feet because he was a guard, and he has a complete game. Now, Raquel, I know you love LeBron, and I'm a LeBron guy. I love LeBron for everything that he is, but the torch, look, this is what Anthony Davis said, and did y'all hear it in the post-game, Marv? What did he say? Coach called to play for LeBron. I looked at Rondo. I said, no, wave that off. You coming to me. And Rondo went to him, and he nailed the 3. Does that sound like he carrying the torch, Marv, or what does it sound like to you? That's all I have to say.
Look, I don't think this is an easy question to answer, because if you watch the game at face value and you look at AD on the floor, it's hard to ignore the talent. Like, offensively, his game is effortless. He can get any shot he wants. He's a 3-tier offensive player. He can hit you from any level on the court. Defensively, like you said, he can switch off and do whatever he needs to do defensively. But there's an element missing to Anthony Davis, and it is the vocal dog mentality that leaders have. When you think about leaders in the league.
Did Anthony Davis win any place else he played before we go any further? Because what I recall is he was a loser in New Orleans, but I could be wrong.
No, he made 2 playoff appearances. That's not a loser.
But when you think about leaders in the league, especially leaders of men on championship franchises and teams with expectations, it's easy to lead when there's no expectation. It's hard to lead when you in a money market, big media capital, and you the main man. I mean, think about all the great leaders that we're going to talk about. MJ, LeBron, Kobe. You can go to Chris Paul to an extent. He's a great leader. Even though he doesn't win, he's a great leader. That's what you think about in terms of leadership. Now, also, there's another component you got to put into this. He can't stay healthy. Like, being a leader. Okay, he's been in the league, 7 to 8 years? It's been 3 years where he's played 70-plus games. That ain't good, okay? That is not good if you're talking about being the cornerstone leader of a franchise. Now,
asking the best player in the league to pass the torch.
Now, LeBron is
not the best player in the league, Raquel.
Who's the best player in the league, Lee?
Anthony Davis is a better player than LeBron James right now.
Who's the best player in the league, Lee?
I put the MVP is Giannis.
To him,
we know
Giannis at home, laying in the bed, crying, looking at the
who's at
playoffs.
home. This is a team sport.
But we know Giannis ain't the best player.
Wait a minute. If you're going to say that, then why didn't the Lakers make the playoffs last year, Raquel, or anybody? If y'all just said he's the greatest league, and I love LeBron, so I hate bashing.
You know how many years Michael Jordan didn't make the playoffs, and he was the greatest player in the league.
I don't know if you can
get out of here.
Mike,
you sound ridiculous right now. You know how many years Michael Jordan was in the league and he did not win a championship?
Quit putting apples and oranges together. You keep saying that LeBron is the best player in the league, then why didn't they make the playoffs last year? He was the best player in the league then. Okay, why didn't they close?
You still need a team. You still need a team in the NBA.
When LeBron came back from injury to make the playoffs,
still need a team.
Why didn't they make the playoffs?
LeBron needed a team, just like Michael needed a team. Because you'll go round for round about. You know what? It's not even worth going back.
It's inevitable that LeBron will pass the torch to AD, but AD needs to win. He needs to win the championship this year. He needs to be the best player on the floor throughout the championship. He needs to win the MVP of the finals. And
he's going to do that.
Okay, and if that happens, then I'm comfortable with saying, LeBron, you've logged over 50,000 minutes in the NBA. Only one other player has done that, and that's been Vince Carter. If he does that, then I say you can pass the torch.
We're not talking about lifetime achievement stuff here. We're talking about at this point now, is it time very
no,
to the way
not right now.
But Lee,
not right now. You can't depend on Anthony Davis to be the leader on this team. Are you kidding me?
Lee, how often have you said, Lee?
Wait a minute.
This gets ridiculous sometimes. That's crazy.
Kawhi Leonard has 2 championships and he doesn't say 2 words on the court. So
that's why he's home right now.
Let me ask you a question, Lee. Let me ask you one question, because you said this on this show. I just want to bring this up. How many times you said that, dang, AD, he just fade too much for me. Like he disappears
so damn
too much in the game. Like,
I never said AD fades. I don't remember saying that, Mom.
Like he disappears. He's not aggressive all the time. He wants to shoot too many jumpers.
You don't remember?
You
don't remember?
I think this year AD has deferred to LeBron a lot, and I see that now he's starting to get far more aggressive. And that's how they're going to win the championship. I said it from the beginning of the playoffs. I said they go as AD go, and it's been proven out this whole playoff. That doesn't take anything away from LeBron. Yeah, don't make it seem like I'm bashing LeBron, but it's time to pass the torch. That's just the way it is, and that's not a knock on LeBron. You'll see it as this continues to evolve, and we see it in front of our eyes. It's not bashing LeBron. And Mark, he's played 50,000 minutes. He's a great top 5 player all time. I give him all of that. But right now, man, come on, man. It ain't a thing on that basketball court that Anthony Davis can't do. Anthony Davis, to me, is the best player in the league for what he can show. He's inside, he's outside, he defends, he blocks shots, he plays defense. He does everything you need a ball player to do. to be considered the best player.
And in 8 years, he has no titles
Well,
or no MVP,
no
Marv,
MVP. Years, he hadn't had a team. He hadn't had a team to get him a title. Who has he played with, Marv? Who has he played with in 8 years?
I mean, you just made that argument about LeBron last year not making the playoffs.
LeBron didn't have a team last year, but what's the issue?
LeBron was the best player in the league. So
you know he is. LeBron is the best player in the NBA.
You just told me LeBron was the best player in the league.
He is, but you don't think you think one person can win a basketball game? You know better. I know you know better because you're actually one of the smartest sports guys I know, and you know better. You know that one guy can't win a game. You need a team to win a basketball game. Unfortunately, you can't guard 5 people at one time.
You answered your own question. That's what I'm saying. You asked the question and you answered it at the same time.
We will have an opportunity to debate this as the playoffs go.
I'm telling you, you asked and answered the same question in one sentence.
Well, we will have an opportunity
to the next topic?
Debate this as the season plays itself out.
So
let's get on to let's review week 2 of the NFL. You know, what games were impactful to you guys over week 2 of the NFL? What did you see? Any surprises? Let's kind of recap week 2 and let's get our thoughts on what we felt.
Ladies first.
I'll defer. I'll let you.
All right, I'm gonna go. We can just kind of piggyback off of this. I'm gonna take. Let's start with the first game that was on that Thursday night, Cincinnati, Cleveland. What I saw was Joe Burrow is for real. He ain't got much around. Well, he's got some good talent on offense, but I think that they found something in Joe Burrow. I think they got a lot to be excited about in Cincinnati if they can surround him with the right pieces. And that boy's a natural leader. I'm excited about to see where he go. On the flip side of that, Baker Mayfield is pretty much who I thought he was, hype, with not a lot of substance. But they may have found a formula that can make him okay, handing that ball off to Nick Chubb and the guy that was at KC, Kareem Hunt, handing the ball off, making them do some play action. So I think Cleveland still is who they are, but I'm excited about what I saw with Cincinnati. But, you know, let's hit the Cowboys real quick because that's what we really need to talk about to kind of go. Lee, you the resident Cowboy expert.
I mean, they scored 40 points in 3 quarters. That's all I mean, and came back and won the game. It's a beautiful.
So let me ask you a question as a Cowboy fan.
Absolutely.
How do you feel? And honestly, I'm almost on your side with this because there's something that's disturbing to me that I saw about the Cowboys again. It was Kellen Moore with that same vanilla playbook to kind of start the game against Atlanta, like not letting Dak go. And it's pretty clear if you let Dak go with them weapons that he has, he can pretty much do whatever he wants to do. It almost feels like to me that they're trying to handcuff Dak a little bit because that playbook looked awful familiar like it did in week 1. And I didn't see him open it up until it had to. They got down 20-0, and then Kellen Moore was like, okay, Dak, I'm going to let you loose. I'm going to let you go do what you need to do. So that's a little alarming to me with the fact that they still look like they try to put constraints on Dak. Like they don't want him to get his money. Like they don't want him to be the best quarterback in the league because he got all the pieces to do it. There's no excuses. He's putting up the best numbers, but yet you come out and you still vanilla? What's the deal, man?
I'm upset with Mike McCarthy as the head coach right now.
That's Jason Garrett 2.0.
I didn't look. I think sometimes when you work for Jerry Jones, you when he hires you, he puts you in a box. So he says that we're going to keep Kellen Moore. So in the media, Mike McCarthy said, yeah, it was my choice to keep Kellen Moore. I'm not knocking Kellen Moore. I think eventually he'll be a great offensive coordinator and he's doing good things, but I don't see Mike McCarthy's imprint on the team yet, Marvin. And I think like the fake punts, the first one I was okay with because you caught him off guard. It's just that your punter, cramped up, I'll say. I wanted to say somebody cramped up and then threw the ball a yard short. The second one never should have been ran. And if Mike McCarthy approved that, shame on him. And if you're allowing your special teams coach to do it, shame on you. All accounts, Dallas should have lost that game without a doubt, right?
Thank you. You know what? See, that's all. I just want a Dallas fan to be.
I've always been real with you.
Just say that.
I analyze Dallas well, but this is what I'll say about the Cowboys. Marv, they're loaded offensively. Dallas was scoring in 3 minutes. They were just going right down the field, ping, 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 scoring. Dak the trigger man. Defensively, I don't like Mike Nolan as the defensive coordinator.
Y'all got some holes.
He allowed Matt Ryan to sit back there and throw the ball. He should have been blitzing. So there are things that the coaching staff has to work on. But the talent on the team, there's no denying the talent. Now, remember this, though. Yesterday, you're without your 2 starting tackles. So Dak did all of that with a first-year guy that's playing his second game and a second-year guy who had never started. That's how good Dak Prescott is, and people said that he's not.
But it's Atlanta. Let's tamper that just a bit. It's still Atlanta. Like, let's not act like he did that against the Rams.
It's a pro team.
And I mean, I think
somewhat.
The biggest thing is what happened to Atlanta.
That coach needs to be gone.
Atlanta, the Cowboys came back and won, but they should have lost. The bigger question is what happened to Atlanta? If I was an Atlanta fan, I would be crazy. You
know what a better question is? What's happened to that division? The Eagles are terrible.
Yes.
The Redskins,
they're 0-2.
Who we thought they were. Defensively, they're going to be okay, but they are who they thought we were. Dallas looks like 8-8 all over again. I mean, the division doesn't look good.
It's 2 games into the season, so.
I mean, but that's still telling. I mean, you can't discount the 2 games and just be like,
Well, Dallas is 1-1. I don't think there's anything wrong with the division. I think it's early. I think divisions don't shape up till at least week 7.
Okay. Are you going to tell me, Lee, that wasn't a must-win for you?
No, it wasn't a must-win.
You were going to Seattle next week, and you go to Seattle and you 0-2.
If you start 0-3, your chances of making the playoffs is like 12%.
Right. So it was a must-win.
But if they had lost that game and beat Seattle, Dallas started 0-2 before and won the Super Bowl. So I don't think that
you're going back to 1995.
I'm glad they won it.
Okay. All right. So I think we can still say the Ravens and the Chiefs are the class of the NFL right now.
Well,
for a minute, Mark.
Let this man say, well.
See, this is my problem with the Chiefs. Everybody think the Chiefs are the darling team of the league. San Diego should have beat the Chiefs as well yesterday.
San Diego's good. San Diego's defense is good.
San Diego is okay. They're not a great team by any stretch of the imagination. And the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes has 65 yards passing after 3 quarters. 65 yards passing. So all you Chief lovers
he is the reigning Super Bowl champion.
Come on, man. Come on.
Man, why you so dead set on hating the Chiefs, man?
No, I don't hate the Chiefs. I like to call things as they are. You know, we first of all, we said Patrick Mahomes, the greatest quarterback that ever played after 2 seasons. That's not true. People are it's so much hyperbole, it's unreal. And then third of all, they said, I had someone tell me after.
Well, wait. From a statistical standpoint, that is true. What if you want to roll out the stats.
From a statistical standpoint, Lamar Jackson had a better MVP season than Patrick Mahomes did because nobody.
We're talking about a career.
Lamar Jackson is done. Somebody has done what Patrick Mahomes is done.
Lamar Jackson needs to win a playoff game.
We're talking about the MVP season.
He needs to win a playoff game.
Okay, but we're talking about the
MVP. You ask any professional athlete, would they rather have a championship or an MVP?
We understand that, Mark, but we're talking about we're saying Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback since sliced bread. That is just not the case. That's just not the case. People say that, and nobody can get me to believe that as of right now. I like Patrick Mahomes. I don't have anything against him, but stop it. Let me tell you somebody who is just as talented as Patrick Mahomes in his second year, throwing the football and doing the thing. It's Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Kyler Murray. Just as talented, accurate, dead accurate. And look at what he's done, how he's transformed the Arizona Cardinals team. There are a lot of great young quarterbacks. I'm just not ready to say Patrick Mahomes is the greatest of all time the way everybody else is smelling the Kool-Aid. Just not the case.
I mean, but it's hard to deny like what your eyes see, and then it's hard to deny results. Like we can say all day about, Kyler Murray great, and he is off to a great start. I agree with you. And Arizona's defense is a lot better than people think they are.
Absolutely, much better.
Yeah, so Arizona, and he got Hopkins, he got Fitzgerald still there, he got a running game. Arizona might scare some people this year. I agree with you.
If Lamar Jackson, if Baltimore wins the Super Bowl this year, Marv, who has had the better start to their career? Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson, that's easy.
Yeah, but if Lamar Jackson wins the Super Bowl this year, which quarterback has had a better start to their career?
I mean, without a doubt, it would be Lamar Jackson. I don't even think that's a question. But that Super Bowl hold a lot of weight.
I get it. I'm with you.
So I can't just ignore that.
Let me say this. I think Russell Wilson is playing a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes is. That's what I would say.
Right now. 2 games in.
He did last year, Raquel.
But we've seen Russell do this though.
Yeah.
He starts hot. And he periodically or methodically fades as the season wears on. He did it last year.
Russell Wilson's numbers last year were better than Patrick Mahomes.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Are we talking about individual statistics? Or are we talking about team statistics?
Well, football's a team game. I mean, football is a team game. So individually, you got to be good.
Use these stats as they benefit our argument.
You do that. What benefits your argument? You keep going from
Lee. You're the king of that, especially when you're talking about the Cowboys.
I'm trying to help you out, Raquel, because I see you don't want any help.
That you're the worst helper ever.
Let's make one thing clear though before we move on to this second little topic here. I think we can all agree that Cam Newton might be back.
Okay,
Cam. Super happy for that guy.
I'm still perplexed by the play call at the end of the game.
Terrible call.
Yeah.
You know that's equivalent to the Seattle call against the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Terrible call.
You motion the tight ends to one side, all your movement to one side. You get Cam, single backfield. You're gonna run the football. It was so predictable.
Terrible call.
Yeah.
Terrible call.
But Cam looked great though, and I'm happy to see that.
You said I would have preferred him just spread it all out, Marv.
Yeah.
Give him a two-way goal to run the ball. Drop back and then read like he was doing earlier. He was taking his time, sort of hesitating a step, and then running. That was a terrible call. That was like a power sweep to the strong side with everybody over there. That was crazy. Great play by the secondary player though of Seattle too.
Two more points before we move on. The Steelers defense is as advertised. That defense is good. And Tampa Bay, I'm still not sold.
Not sold on Tampa. Brady threw for 217 yards yesterday.
Yeah, Carolina.
And I peeked in on some of that game, Marv, and just like I've been saying all season, if you get any resemblance of pressure on Tom Brady, you're in trouble. Tampa's in trouble. And those teams that have pass rush that can put pressure on them, the Saints did it, and that can do it. Now Carolina, no pass rushers. And so, but those that can, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. So there's been a rash of injuries over the first, in week 2, I should say. Week 1 went by pretty well, but week 2, there was a rash of injuries. Do we think that's caused by a lack of preseason football in the NFL? Is that what we think that we can attribute the injuries to?
Well, I think conditioning is important. That's why we do it, right? Every sport has a conditioning season. I think that may have something to do with it. Who knows? But if I had to guess, I would say yes. We condition, we get our bodies ready for the season. It's hard to just jump in. I think, a good example is like now, Marv, if we go get on the basketball court, right? We're going to be able to shoot. Like I'm going to always be able to shoot the basketball. But when you're talking about running up and down the court and changing directions, we have to get our bodies ready for that and prepared. So I do think it's a component as to why we saw the injuries we saw this week.
I'm glad you made that comparison because, we could get on the court. We might be able to give you 20 or 30 minutes right now, be good. But then that old age or that out of shapeness going to set in. And then ask me 7 days later to give you those same reps and my body not really back and used to them reps. That's when you see those injuries set in. And I think that's what you kind of saw in the NFL. You had guys who it's pretty much an 8-month layoff with no real live football reps. Week 1 went by because it's kind of conditioning. Your body's used to that. But then you get 150 snaps, 175 snaps, you get 7 days off, and then you back in the same grind. The body's not used to it. So I think that's what you see a lot of it. But the preseason is going nowhere though. I mean, the preseason will be back. Let's just be real about that, because the preseason is not only is it about having some football, but it's also about revenue. So, preseason is going nowhere. Lee, what you think?
I think they're going to reduce the preseason to 2, and they want to get the 18th game because that's going to be more revenue, and that's going to help in the TV negotiations. So I think that's the way they're going to go. But, yeah, they're going to have a couple of preseason games. But, Mark, I don't necessarily agree with the premise that the lack of preseason has caused this. Because think about it. When you look at now the soft tissue injuries, the hamstrings and the groins, yeah, I can say that may be a little bit, but you can pull a hamstring anytime. Yeah. Not properly stretching, same thing with your groin. But look at the knee injuries. Those are not conditioning injuries per se. Those are cutting. Look at Drew Lock. Drew Lock, shoulder. Look at McCaffrey, ankle. All of those guys from San Francisco, knees.
Bosa, Barkley.
They're talking about the turf and how they plant, but there was a lot of core tears as opposed to soft tissue. Soft tissue, I can give a lot of the conditioning with, but those knee injuries, like Saquon, I mean, it's just bad, And so that's sort of, so it's probably a mixture of both, but they spent 3 weeks conditioning. Now I will say this: football players are conditioned to do a certain thing. They're in a routine. They come back in March, the season starts. They do the OTA, the voluntary OTAs. They do the mandatory. Then they do the mini camp, and boom, it's a transfer. So that could have something to do with it. But those knee injuries and stuff and shoulders, I don't think those are conditioning injuries. So
here's going to be an interesting thing to watch. And, we used to always do this, playing basketball. You have your September part of the NFL in the season and all these rash of injuries that are going on, and whatever we can attribute it to, we don't know. But then let's take the last maybe 3 quarters of the season and compare the two and see how the injuries have either increased or decreased towards the end of the season after players have gotten to the groove of playing football again, maybe warming up a little bit more, whatever the case may be, as compared to what they got in September. And that might give you some better data on how to track it or what really happened with these injuries. But I'm with you. Some of the knee injuries, though, like Saquon Barkley's, I mean, that was just kind of a freak injury.
Yeah,
Bosa, the guy landed on him. I mean, that stuff happened in football every day. So
happens all the time.
Yeah, there's nothing you can
really do. Let me ask you this, Mark. With the injury to Drew Lock, and Raquel, I want to ask you this as well. Does it open the door for Colin Kaepernick possibly to get re-enter the league?
I don't think they want to.
That John Elway and Denver should think about. Or Locke is going to be out. He's going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
as much as 6. Do you say Colin come in? It would be a great gesture not a gesture because he can play, but it would be great to bring him back in the league and see where he can go with Denver. So I doubt it, but I hope that they give him a look.
It would be great, but I think we've said this earlier. I think that window is closed. I don't even know if Kaepernick want to play anymore, to be quite honest. But it would be great. It would be ideal. This is the perfect situation. You got young receivers, not a lot of expectation. He could come in and kind of do his thing, but I don't think it's going to happen. So, but let's talk about who's been the most impressive player. We kind of skipped over that a little bit through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. Who do you guys think have been the most impressive thus far?
I'm definitely going with Lamar Jackson. Kind of easy choice for me. 2 games, 4 TDs, 0 interceptions, 2-0, averaging 240 yards right now. I'm going with Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar is the easy choice, and Russell, and we could go with, Mahomes. There's a couple other usual suspects that we could use, but I'm gonna go to who we mentioned earlier, Lee. I'm gonna go with Kyler Murray.
Excellent, absolutely.
He's seeing the game differently. I know he's got some great weapons. I think he's leading the league quarterback in terms of rushes, attempts per rush. He's a nightmare to kind of scheme for. He might be I think Lamar is definitely faster, but in space, he might be quicker than Lamar. I mean, that's hard to say.
No, there's no doubt about that, Mar.
Yeah, he might be quicker in that box than Lamar. So he's a nightmare. And I've just been impressed with his QBR. I think he's the top 5 or 6 in the league right now. Like, he's been impressive. So for me, through the first 2 weeks, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray.
Yeah. He makes great decisions, Marv. He's very accurate with the football. I mean, he throws a beautiful, beautiful ball. He's cat quick, and he's very elusive with them little choppy steps.
Yeah, them little choppy steps.
Very elusive. So I agree with you. He would be one of my picks, but certainly there's nobody playing better football than Russell Wilson. Nobody. The man has 9 touchdowns in 2 games. He has 1 interception off of a tip ball.
And the piggyback, I think he only has 11 incompletions on the season.
He's killing it. He's killing it. And nobody in the NFL throws a better deep ball than Russell Wilson. Nobody.
Those two he threw last night. I mean,
beautiful. Beautiful.
I mean, you couldn't even drop it in there if you were standing right next to him.
Nobody threw it. See, I've always thought that Russell Wilson, the reason, and they said a stat last night that he's never got an MVP vote. If you heard Chris Collinsworth say that. Yeah. But I think the reason is because of the type of offense that Seattle runs. They want to run the football. They've done it. Clearly, he's a pocket passer. And this year, they've given him more autonomy to drop back and throw the football. I just hope that they continue that, because if they continue that, he's going to be in the MVP race all season. And the boy is balling out, man. He's deadly accurate. He's elusive in the pocket. He's a smart, intelligent player, and he protects his body, Marv. So to me, he would be mine. Kyler is playing out of his mind. Yeah. And of course, Dak Prescott is doing his thing. 450 yards yesterday. Just another day at the office for the Dakster. I have to throw him in there.
I mean, you can't debate it. I mean, he played a hell of a game yesterday. I mean, you got to recognize it when you see it. He's the reason they won that football game. So I'm gonna give him his props. He did his thing yesterday. But of course,
touchdowns, by the way, Raquel, 3. I just want to throw that in there for you.
But your Alabama boys putting in work on Dallas too. You might as well go on and become an Alabama fan, because between Cooper and Diggs in the secondary, Diggs play.
Yeah. Marv, I like Diggs. He should have caught that interception yesterday.
He should have caught.
But I like Diggs. He's long, and the thing about him, in 2 games, there's been a couple of pass completions on him. Mm-hmm. But Mark, he has cover skill and he has makeup speed.
Yep.
So I love Diggs. I'll give you props for that. I love Diggs.
Yeah, he's gonna be a nice corner for you. So let's transition a little bit. Let's talk about college basketball. The University of Louisville is among several college teams planning to have a non-conference bubble from November 26th through the mid-December. What are our thoughts about college basketball doing this to have some non-conference games?
When you hesitate, Raquel, you be killing me. Go ahead, give us the knowledge. Break it down for us. Go ahead, Raquel.
I don't like the idea of it. I think, and it's only because of COVID. The numbers still aren't the best. However, it's getting better. And I think that's a positive. The COVID numbers are getting better, but they're still fairly high. I don't see the point in risking playing games that are outside of the conference.
Well, Raquel, can I ask you this question? And I want you to answer this now.
Yeah.
The NBA has shown that the bubble works, right?
It does.
So if the colleges can get, and they're talking about little mini bubbles for, like Louisville wants to get 8 to 12 teams, and you'll probably have other teams doing the same thing. And if they isolate it like that, now I don't know, Marv, if they're going to do the testing that the NBA does. And that, to me, that's where the rubber hits the road. But if they did that, you wouldn't think that would work? You wouldn't be for that, Raquel?
I would be. I just don't think they can do it. I just don't think they can do it. If they can do it, we know it works. There's no doubt about the method. It works, but I don't think they can do it.
And that's the caveat.
And the money to test like the NBA, I just don't think they can do it. If they could do it that way, yes. I just don't think they can. I don't think they want to afford it either.
And what about, even though a lot of universities are talking about that students after Thanksgiving won't be on campus, what if there are some universities who decide to bring students back to campus? Okay. And then you're excluding these athletes and putting in bubbles and only playing regionally these bubble games from non-conference games. What does that say? Right. And then also, there's a lot of schools that are already taking huge hits from an athletic standpoint, from a budget standpoint. Like, the NBA can afford to do this. These are professional athletes. They get paid to do this. These colleges, to test the way the NBA is testing league, that's going to be a tall task for some. Louisville probably can do it.
They got Louisville.
I mean, there's some of these Duke, they can probably do it just like an NBA team, but you got other teams.
But you got to have the other teams be able to do it as well.
Right. And I think from a financial standpoint, and I just talked to some of my friends that coach, some at higher level, some at lower level, it's going to be hard to fiscally have that make sense the way the NBA does it. And let's talk about from a player's perspective, what's in it for the player? Okay. From an NBA standpoint, what's in it for you is that this is your job. You're getting paid millions to do it. What's in it for the college basketball player besides risking health? Basically, because that's really all you're doing. You're not really gaining much from some non-conference games where you're busing to these places. They're not even talking about being on planes. They're talking about places that they can be on a bus, bus everybody to.
Yeah.
So I mean, go ahead, Lee.
But Mark, we know that these are financially driven decisions.
Yeah.
Right. That these schools want to make, and for me, it's almost because. What happens after football goes away? There's going to be such a void. And will the networks pitch in, or how they divvy up that testing?
Right.
I mean, right. I would say everything is on the table at that point, because many tournament style, Maui Classics, if you will, Marv, hey, that's not a bad thing for TV. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's not a bad thing for TV.
They'll want to pitch in a little bit more, because we're not going to see the Maui Classics and all that stuff this year. So if we can get some regionalized, Louisville, Indiana, Cincinnati type of deals, and they're playing, hey, the network.
Well, actually, the Maui said they were moving to Asheville.
Oh, did they say they're moving to Asheville?
They're moving the Maui Classic to Asheville, North Carolina. Okay. This is what I've heard. But
I guess that's what they want to do: get it more regionalized.
More regionalized. So. We'll see. I mean, if they can pull it off, it's great. But again, I always think like, what's in it for the players, and for college basketball players, it's not a lot in it for them besides risking.
And it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
It's not. So, this is
only a
but like you said,
teams I don't want to see play basketball, to be honest.
This is all financially driven.
You don't only a few college teams that I even want to see play basketball. So I don't think it's worth it overall.
Have you watched any? I just want to ask you a question, though, Rocket, if I may. I'm going to throw my hand up like we do when we're in church. Have you watched any college football this season?
College football. You know what?
Don't tell the truth. Don't tell the truth. Tell the truth. You've watched it and you've enjoyed it. Stop it. Go ahead and tell the truth.
So I'll say this, I have the bar, so I have the game on. And it's hard not to watch because I have the game on, right? I have a game on every TV.
And the people and your students have enjoyed it. And so
I don't think about COVID watching. I'll say that. I'm not thinking about COVID at all when I'm watching. I'm just watching football. I don't have a thought of COVID. But when I step outside of that and I'm actually thinking and I'm not working,
okay.
I don't agree with it. I don't think the kids should be playing.
I commend you on being honest. That's all I can say. I'm just real. I love it every day. I want to see more of it, and let's go. Let's go.
I'm watching college football. I'm watching everything.
They're doing more testing now. They're testing more. So I think some colleges now are testing 3 times a week.
They are.
And that's pretty good, actually.
I know Alabama's testing 3 times a week, and on game week they're testing every day.
There you go. So yeah.
But they got the means to do it. They're playing.
Have we heard the numbers on what it's costing these colleges and universities to test? I would love to know
they
the bottom line. I want to know what it costs to do it.
They're not gonna make it public, Raquel, but Raquel, I promise you, it's more than worth it with all this TV money that they're getting from these networks and radio money and local regionalized advertising. It's worth it. And so I've always said they had the money. It's about, look, we
Whether
know
they want to spend it or not.
absolutely. And where are you going to allocate that money? Do you want to build the Raquel M.R. Thomas School of the Arts, or do you want to build something for the football team, or do you want to take away from the golf team? It's where the money's going. The money's there.
I want to see how they're going to do this as they get into the season. So, for instance, Alabama's playing Missouri this weekend. 12 Missouri players are already been ruled out for the game because of COVID-related symptoms, right? So Missouri was already undermanned as is playing Alabama. Now they're going to be even more undermanned. Like, what if that happens if, Clemson's playing Miami to you and Miami looks good? They got the Eric King this year and he's looking good. What if that happens in one of those kind of games? What does that do if Clemson were to lose and maybe they didn't have Lawrence and ETN or maybe a couple of those guys? Is that going to drop them in the rankings, or do they got a special COVID ranking?
They better not. That would be completely
I'm just saying, because
that would not be okay. You can't. The truth of the matter is, we talked about this at the beginning of the season. We knew that there was the likelihood of an entire team being ill with COVID would happen. That's just how it is. One guy gets COVID on the team, we know we're going to have several other guys with COVID. So we knew that going into the season. So you can't determine the rankings based on if someone is sick or not.
Yeah, I think this year, Marv, everything's going to be so subjective with the rankings. You look at how SEC has started this week. The Big Ten doesn't start till later on this year. Other teams that play, Big 12 is playing now. So it's always going to be subjective this year, and so that's going to continue. That's going to continue on throughout the season. But this is what I say. This is a perfect time to say, whoever changed the format, whoever win their conference, let them go to a playoff and play that thing off. This is the perfect year for it. And of course, that would have to be done by the bowl championship committee because they don't run college football.
Well, real quick, because we're running short on time, Deion Sanders got named as the head coach at Jackson State. What do we think about this? We think it's going to be prime time for Jackson State down there in Mississippi, or
huge for Mississippi. Huge for Mississippi. Is going to generate dollars. We obviously know we need more of that at HBCUs. Even if he didn't win a football game, he's still going to draw people to the games. It's going to be a huge hit for the bottom line in a good way, I think, for them. I think they're going to be able to I think they're going to do some really good recruiting because of it as well. I think the other HBCUs are going to be in trouble because if I was a kid playing college football, I would want to go play for Deion Sanders. It would be an easy pick for me, even if they weren't on my radar. Even if I had the chance to go to a small D1 school, I may shift gears and go there just because the scouts are coming. He's going to be able to get the right people in the stands. You gotta think from a knowledge standpoint, they're in good hands. So I think it's going to cause problems for the rest of the HBCUs across the country.
I'm torn on this.
Really?
I think it's a great hire. Don't get me wrong. And I love that he's going to be in the HBCU and the notoriety that he's going to bring. But does it really help your recruit? What? Well, wait a minute.
Don Staley turned Don Staley. USC couldn't get a player worth 25 cents.
That's a different level. We're talking about SEC and everybody who thinks they're good in
basketball might as well be Division 5 basketball.
Well, that's not
girls.
Well, so when you're talking about changing a culture and getting you could do it at an HBCU in men's basketball because you can get that one kid that can put you on the map, give you television games because he's, top 5 in the country,
right?
And make an NCAA tournament run. See, that's a whole different story. Football's a little different. They're never going to play for a national title. They're never going to have multiple games on ESPN. They may have one or two, even with Deion, because you're just not going to draw enough interest to get them on TV that much, especially if they're not getting top tier talent. And top tier talent might not go there because they want to be on TV every week. Because
I'll say this before you go, Lee. Benedict had a boy that went into the draft.
I mean, broken clock is right twice a day. It happens every once in a while, but that's not the norm.
And they didn't have nearly the tools that Deion is about to bring to this HBCU.
Marv, let me say this.
Finish us off.
You're right that if the expectation can't be that Deion's going to get 5-star and 4-star players to come to Jackson State. That's not going to happen. Right. But you don't have to have 5 4-star players to win at Jackson State. No. If he can legitimately get 3-star players to come to Jackson State, he'll get a winner there, and that's the key for Deion. So those players that would go to the MAC and the Southland Conference, and those players, will they go to Jackson State? I think so, because you know as well as I do. Primetime come to your living room, man. That dude is charismatic. So the key for them is not 4 and 5-star. Will he get a 4-star every blue moon? Yes. But it's consistently get the 3-star players, and Marv, he has to get one of these black dual threat quarterbacks.
He got his son. His son
went to Florida Atlantic.
They say he's gonna decommit. They say he's gonna decommit.
Is he going to Jackson State?
They say that's the grumblings that he's gonna decommit and go play for his dad.
He should go play for daddy. Because Marv, Deion knows football, man.
Oh, no doubt about it.
If you've seen his son, their team play Trinity, them guys run it up. So he knows football. So if Shakur comes there, that's the quarterback, and then you develop. Because I'm gonna tell you this: in Texas, they know Deion Sanders, and so the key is getting those 3-star players to come there. And if you do that, Jackson State will be one of the better HBCUs. Now, like you said, Marv, Deion being there may get you a game or 2 on TV.
Right.
But that's success because of the money, as Raquel said, the money it would generate for that school. And so that would be.
Ticket sales are going to triple.
If Deion is
jersey sales are going to triple.
If Deion is successful, when Shakur leaves for the NFL, Deion leaving for another school. So
no doubt about it. He's parlaying this into another job.
Absolutely.
That's what he's doing.
Absolutely.
So we've hit the time. Good topics tonight, guys. But we've hit that time. We got to call it a night. So, but good discussions tonight. We're gonna go back to that Dak Prescott and a few others as the season rolls along.
And the torch. We're gonna see how this torch thing gonna evolve too.
So join us for some more interesting topics. We'll be back Wednesday, 8:00. Like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. You guys know what to do. For Lee Jones, Raquel M.R. Thomas, LP, I'm Marvin Orange. We, of course, are After the Buzzer Sports Podcast. Appreciate you guys joining us. We'll see you Wednesday at 8:00. Have a good night.